Isn't that a headline for this conversation?
Totally.
It's not too late.
To go into your inner child and also to do some things that are fulfilling, start new projects, whatever it might be, right?
Right.
Hey everybody, welcome to RealLaurenLive, the Spirituality and Health Podcast. I've got Rachel Oz with me today. How are you, Rachel?
I am awesome and grateful. How are you?
Same. So happy to have you on the show. Loving the color. We're going to get to that in a minute. Your bright, beautiful aura and your clothing choice. We're going to talk about why you dress up in so much beautiful color. That's part of your style. And but Rachel is a psychologist, an author. We're going to talk about her book a little later, and a playgroundist, which I'm going to ask you in a few minutes what that means. But we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff today. We're going to let the conversation flow, raising the vibe, talk about our book, and we're going to talk about, how you can dress with intention and caring for your inner child. That's something I kind of wanted to touch on. So first of all, what does a playgroundist mean?
Yes. So one of the things, my little tagline is I'm a psychologist, author, and art playgroundist. And what that means for me is when I create art, I feel like I'm on the playground again, and I'm young, and it's recess, and I'm with my friends, and we're on the swings, the wind is in my hair, I'm free. So, I could say I'm an artist, and certainly am, but it feels even more honest to use my made-up term, art playgroundist.
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah,
I know. I feel like, and maybe this will be the kind of the start of our conversation. I've heard this a couple times, and I don't know if you've felt this. I talk a lot about synchronicities on the show. I've heard a lot of people lately, and I think this is all part of the, the awakening. Call it cheesy if you want, but people are awakening right now, whatever that means to you or the collective. But a lot of people are talking about inner child work, healing child traumas, yada, yada, yada. So I've been thinking a lot, and I've been hearing this a lot lately. We are kind of all just children in human bodies. It's just, in adult bodies, right? But we don't really realize it, but we are. And a lot of our childhood, subconscious memories or things that from our childhood are playing huge roles in our life, right? But I love that image of just like being on the swing and in the moment and the breeze. And I just feel like, I'll speak for myself, I just feel like I don't do that enough. I don't let myself just be more free. And now that I have two young children, I'm living through them again, and they're helping me just be in the moment, which is so beautiful. So can you speak to what is inner child? What does it mean? How can we connect with it? And caring for your inner child.
Yes. So the first thing I want to mention is that when you introduced that, you said, it sounds a little cheesy, but we're awakening. And I always get so excited when anyone ever prefaces something with saying, this is going to be cheesy, because I always know it's going to be the best stuff. Yeah. It just is consistent. Like I would just encourage for fun, you to just notice when you say it yourself or when you hear anyone else say it. I know it's cheesy, but blah, 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 and get excited, because whatever's coming out of your or their mouths is going to be really important. Like pay attention to that. So thank you for speaking of awakening and for your cheesy importance.
I guess just to throw in really quick, the terms are true. I think there's a lot of awakening going on collectively, individually, but also, can be overused. And I think some people think it's cheesy. That's why I guess I say that as a little bit of sarcasm. I'm all about it. But you know what I mean? I think some people, this great mass awakening, like, oh, please, but I really do believe it's happening. So I guess that's kind of why I threw that term. Some people might think it's being overused, but how else do I explain it, I guess? So
Yes.
Cheesy or
that's
not, it's good.
Yes. Yes. And it's helpful to even hear you elaborate upon it, because I know what you mean, that sometimes when we overuse terms, we habituate to them. We don't hear it in a way that really awakens our senses anymore, or where we take it seriously or give it full attention that it needs, because that is serious business, to wake up and to be really present. And all all the possibility then that comes forward. So I love that. And I'm with you. And then secondly, the whole other thing you were talking about, which is our inner child. So what I think is that we bring all our ages with us as we continue to age. And so it's not so much, well, once upon a time, I was 2 and 4 and 14 and 24, et cetera. But now, so for example, Rachel, am 56. And I'm all my ages that I've been, and they're all with me. And that I don't need to leave any part of me behind. And so that I can continue to have all those ages inform me and inspire me. And I can still, if I choose to, take care of all those ages. So for example, the young part of me, and this would be so fun, like whoever may be listening, it would be so fun if we could just suddenly be in a circle and share what I'm going to speak to here, share with each of us what it would be for each of us, because it would be slightly different with each individual. For me, for example, one of the ways I still care for younger parts of me is when I'm especially tired or feeling vulnerable. Like I have a small stuffed animal collection. I'll sometimes still cuddle with one. Or, I love soft things like a soft blanket, or speaking of colors, the young child in me also loves that I often dress in still bright colors, like, allowing her to dress me. And, there's so many different things. I've circled back in my early 40s is when this happened. But in my early 40s, I reawakened my creative life, for example, and began to weave back in the writing and the art making that I loved as a child and a teen. I had rainbow. It was almost like wallpaper in my room. I had piece of paper after piece of paper of drawings that had all these rainbowy colors on my bedroom walls. And so in my 40s, I was like, where did that girl go? I still love doing that. And so, there's so many different ways, but it's a more complete and integrated me to express, be in touch with, and love up all my ages now.
That's really beautifully said. I should have asked you too in the beginning, do you mind giving just a quick intro? Sorry, I kind of got so excited just on you. You said you used to be like creative. Can you give just a little background of, who you are and how you got into like psychology? And you obviously just gave us a little tidbit on how you realized, you wanted to be more colorful and playful and creative again. But
yes, let's do our wild order that's out of order, but in perfect order. Yes. So my profession is I work as a psychologist, counseling mostly adults and mostly women, but a few teens and, just a little bit of a variety there. And also, so I've been doing that since my 20s for a long time. And I got into that because it's who I am. You asked in how you got into it. It was, from a very young age, people would say to me, oh, you're such a good listener, or confide in me. And I felt like I came alive, the awakened word you've used. I felt more awake in these kinds of deeper conversations with people. And I even liked the subject in school of psychology. It just felt like, well, sure, I'll get paid for who I am, And so there's the Psychologist. And then in my early 40s, once I had a base really in that profession, and also I have two sons. Once they were, I think my youngest was maybe 8 or 9 at the time, I just felt like, okay, I'm kind of out of the weeds of building, the basics of my profession, raising my children in their youngest ages. And I have a little more space psychologically to come back to myself and think, all right, now what else? What other parts of me still need expression, need wholeness, need to be in the world and touching people with who I am. And one of the things I felt really moved about in my early 40s, springing from my psychology practice, was to write a book. And I was really moved by the beautiful things over time I was hearing my clients say, and especially out of their suffering, these wisdom nuggets, their realizations. And I'd be in the room thinking, I'm the only one hearing this, but I need to share this somehow in a bigger way. That for all of us, that even out of our suffering, if we lean into it and really listen and honor our hearts, that there's so much to be learned there and to grow from. And there's such clues there to our gorgeousness and our gloriousness, which is so unexpected, really. And so I decided to write my first book then. I now have 4, but that first one was called All I Did Was Listen. And it was really about listening to all this amazing stuff I was learning from my clients and so inspired by, and wanted to also illustrate the book and make art about. So that's where my writing and my illustrating and creative life started to spring forward, and still.
Do you have your book with you?
I have my newest one. Okay. So All I Did Was Listen is not at my fingertips, but I do. I just released my 4th book. Wow. But I have that.
Well, why don't you show it to us? And then of course we're going to put it in the show notes too. But
okay. And speaking of inner child, do you remember like kindergarten or whatever, they'd read to you and say, okay, you'd get the visual along with the reading. Here it is, the relationship book.
That's cool. I love the illustration.
Thank you. Kind of in time for Valentine's Day, but also it's a great gift book for yourself or others. But it's very affirming. It's in full color, illustrations on every page. And it's about relationships. It's just about loving ourselves up in all our relationships. And I was moved during the pandemic about how clearly vital it is that we be connected to one another and to ourselves. There was so much isolation that needed to happen to keep ourselves safe. But I was so moved about how we found our way back to one another. And so this book is actually about relationships with ourselves, with food, with our clothing, which is another whole section of my life. That's a whole story, and with each other, et cetera, et cetera. And about being really careful and nurtured in these realms. So it's a little bit prosy, poemy, reflective. A lot of people say they keep it by their bedsides for inspiration and to feel loved up.
That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely put that in the show notes so people can find it. Okay. It sounds lovely.
Thank you.
Gosh, there's always so many ways, things I want to talk about, ways to go with the conversation.
Yeah, great.
I'm thinking okay, I want to talk about your clothing, but I also just wanted to say personally, maybe other people feel this way in certain parts of their life. But like I mentioned, I have 2 young babies. I just actually have a 2.5-month-old.
Oh my gosh.
I know, fresh. And then I have a 2-year-old. It's very busy right now. And so I'm thinking when you're talking about how you had, your kids were a little older and then you have more space. So I'm thinking right now, this is actually my first recording back since I had the baby in October. I've taken some time off. So
welcome.
Thank you. It feels good.
Yes.
It's like, you can probably understand, and other people, maybe with kids or that are busy, it's like, man, the balancing act is hard, but you do need time for yourself. You need some adult conversation. You need some purpose. And so that's what my podcast is, right? Is my purpose. And I'm thinking when you said that, like, because I'm kind of feeling like, where do I take this podcast? And, I started it in early 2021 during the pandemic too. I think a lot of people created amazing things. That's one of the silver linings of the pandemic. I think a lot of people created things, and when we were forced inside our homes, I think there was a lot of beauty to that because we were doing things we wouldn't have maybe done before. But my point is, I'm in a place where I'm very focused, like child, taking care of these littles, and I'm not fully into my creative zone. And so I just appreciated that. I want to honor that, like, every part of our life is important and different space. You hold different space for different things.
Yes.
And so when I heard you say that, it kind of, I don't know, gave me some like hope, and also like, it's okay that you're not doing a lot with your podcast right now because you're taking care of your babies. So I don't know. We're having a mini therapy session in front of hopefully thousands of people that will listen to this, but
yes. And who there's probably some resonance for,
what I mean?
Because for all of us, there's different seasons, and it's all part of it that you're being immersed in babies and all that takes from you. As you're doing it, you're still, and not just still, but you're radically evolving that who you are, and wherever that's going to lead you in the coming years, it's going to inform everything, and it's going to stretch you and grow you and awaken you, to use that term. And so I just think about that it's all part of it.
And I know I can only speak for myself, but I know others have seen, post online or talk to friends, but especially for mamas, like, ooh, we are stretched in so many ways, right? And so it's beginning years are really hard because you're your marriage, and that kind of feels sometimes like it's last, and then you're trying to do something for professionally or for your own self, and then with your kids. And so just speaking to what, it's balance and just being stretched, which isn't a bad thing. It's just learning how to kind of flow with that. And I don't know, it's just wild. So
it's a wild ride.
I'm glad that you found that time to then, get back into your creativeness. And that's inspiring for anyone, no matter where you are in life. It's not too late. You could be in any decade of your life.
It is not too late. Yeah. Isn't that a headline for this conversation?
Totally.
It's not too late
to go into your inner child, and also to do some things that are fulfilling and start new projects, whatever it might be, right? Right.
And to see where inspiration is going to hit, and where light keeps leading you, and where new births keep happening. Like right now, you're in the new births of literally babies, but as long as your heart remains open, and your arms remain open to this life and to your life, births are always possible. It's like a whole land of eggs for you.
For everybody.
For everybody. That's right.
Not, I think we get kind of in our cycles, and sometimes it might feel mundane, or you're just kind of rolling through it, but there's always a possibility if you're willing to be open, I think.
That's right. Yep.
Totally. Wow. Okay. Well, I want to shift into the clothing thing, because that's something I studied fashion. I come from a background actually of apparel, merchandising. So I have to ask, of course. So what is this whole thing? You said that's part of your story. And obviously for people that are watching this, you're in a bright, colorful scarf and glasses, and some of your pictures when we matched up, I saw on your profile, you're just super colorful. What is it about color, and why do you dress the way you dress?
Yes. Well, my inner child's very happy about this story. And because I just have always loved enjoying how I dress and sort of being free to be you and me. The whole thing is like, what brings me joy is what I want to wear. I will say at nighttime when I'm sleepy and I'm kind of done with all the things of the day, I do like to dress sort of dim and like soft colors, quiet colors. I do need that, just like I close my eyes to sleep. But I think when I'm awake, I do enjoy, I see you're in black and white, I think, if I'm seeing correctly.
Cream and black.
Cream. See, you are fashion. See, the word is important, isn't it? It's not just white, it's cream. And that matters, actually. Yeah. I'm really with you. I love the Crayola color names, too. Yeah. I mean, just all that.
Oh, those are fun.
So I like to also play with black and whites, because I think that that's part of the playfulness with colors. And I enjoy the whole rainbow of colors. I feel like for me, colors speak, they're alive. There's an essence to them. They heal, they create, there's a psychology to colors. So for example, I'll just say a couple little things without going way down the wormhole of this. But for example, if you drink, to use your cream, I'm going to do it inspired by you. If you drink out of a mug that's either the color orange or the color cream, and you have hot chocolate in it, that hot chocolate's going to taste better to you out of a mug of those two different colors than if you had a mug of some other color, right? And I could keep saying a whole lot of facts about the psychology of colors and how it affects your perception. Certain gyms, if they're aware of it, will use certain colors to energize you, et cetera, et cetera. Greens clearly leave you feeling a little more peaceful, i.e. when we're in nature, we feel a little more, and some of that's the colors. Yeah. So I think that colors are really powerful, and we're not always thinking about it, but have quite an effect on us. I like to play with colors. I like to play with clothes. I feel like for me, playing with clothes is also about playing with my authenticity and being, showing up as true Rachel, honestly, in the world, and being willing to be visible. I don't need to blend into the background as a woman to have a sense of voice. Here's my words, here's my presence, unapologetically and exactly with how I am, but with some boundaries. Yeah. And I think that there's so many components to it. I will also share with you my own personal story that I grew up with my family not having a whole lot of money. And so I had to have a lot of babysitting jobs to buy my own clothes. And then fast forward later on, as I was saying, I did a whole lot. I picked back up my creativity. And in my creativity was drawing a lot of female figures with really fun, colorful clothing on them. And then when was this? A few years ago. 2016. I flew out to New York with my family, and a couple of people said, Rachel, when you're in New York, you have got to visit the Gudrun Sojian store. You'll just die. You'll love it so much. It looks like your drawings, the clothing that's on your girls. And I fell in love with that store before I left New York. They asked me to be a clothing ambassador for them, meaning, they'll give me free clothes. And then I just post pictures with me online with them. And I'm still their ambassador after all these years. And my closet's busting, so it's just this blessing to the little girl and me who had to babysit to get clothes. Cool. So it feels like also a very, I'm not, I don't know what the word would be. I'm just so grateful, and I don't take it for granted.
It came back to you. That's kind of cool.
It came back. And now there's another clothing store, Magnolia Pearl, who I'm an influencer for, who also has amazing, gorgeous clothes. So it's become an art form for me, an expression. Lastly, I'll just squeeze in here that just this morning, in the very beginning of the morning, I treated myself to watching the last episode of the most recent season of Making the Cut. and a show on Netflix. It's all about fashion and people who are just, taking risks to live their dream. And in this show, it's about making fashion clothes. And I just came to love the contestants and their creativity and all of that. So a big bow to you in studying fashion. And I just think it runs deep about what it's about.
Again, I'm making a joke. It could seem like, oh, it's just this like, what's the right, not shallow, but just kind of like, oh, it's fashion, but it's like literally no matter what your style, we're all wearing something every day. It's a huge part of our life. And whether you dress plainly and don't want to stick out, then that's in a way kind of your style. Or if you want to stick out a little bit, like you said, like I don't mind sticking out. And this is I actually thought, should I wear a fun color? And then I just was scrambling and I just threw on whatever. I love black just because I think it's like classic, sleek, like, polished, but I also like appreciate color too. I can go either way as well. So it's just, it's a fun form of expression. So I do appreciate it. That's really neat.
Yes.
And obviously even just like talking with you and seeing your pictures and stuff, the color, it feels very joyful. It's contagious. So even if I or someone might not dress like you do, seeing you, it has this like happy feeling. So, you're sending that feeling out into the world.
That's right. That's right. And so there's this intention, it's for you and it's for me. And that when we honor who we really are and what really brings each of us distinctly joy, it gives love to the whole world, right? Like we give off a better vibe.
Sure.
We're
even
happier.
If it's small, right? And I saw you at the grocery store and I'm like, oh, I like your glasses. It's like, that's just a cool moment to have with somebody.
Right. And it's connective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. And I really am with you. You said something that made me think of this, that this is my style, Rachel's style, but it's, like one of my dear friends will giggle together sometimes because she likes to wear a lot of whites, off-whites, grays, and blacks.
Just neutrals.
And so, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so supportive of her because that brings her joy and that's comforting to her. And, I couldn't be more enthusiastic about it. So it really is about what feels like you to you, which also can change over time.
Sure. Totally. Yeah.
So that's the clothing thing.
I like it. I really enjoy it. I think you don't see every day you don't see a ton of people in a lot of color. So I appreciate that you're being you and also spreading some joy, extra color and joy in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very fun. Very cool. I'll have to check out that store that you were mentioning. That one in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very fun. Well, this kind of gets into more of the deep spiritual, since we're talking about, like raising, literally can be, I think, intent. So I like your glasses. It's a comment to you. It's positive. I enjoyed it. Yeah. That to me seems like, hey, that's positive intentions, which is vibrational. Everything is energy and vibration in this world. It could be as small as that. Or I could say something to you like, I can tell, like you said, someone told you this before. Many people probably told you this. You're a psychologist, but I can tell you're a good listener and I can tell that you're really caring about what I'm saying. That's something we're, enjoying, observing, and I'm sharing with you. And now I'm sharing it on air with people, right? So everything that we think and do is, it's a thing. It's a vibration, and we're raising the vibration, or maybe you're lowering it a little bit. It just depends on your intent, right? So I ask a lot of my guests this, but I'd be curious to hear your perspective just of kind of like what's going on in the world. And I know that's a huge bomb to drop on somebody because it's so intense. From the pandemic until now, there's just been so much that's happened on a collective level. But do you have an interpretation, just kind of if you were to summarize, what is going on collectively for your personal, perspective?
Yeah, what is going on? I think I will share, the temptation with that question is to try to sound so smart and in my response and,
but you can say it from your personal
all encompassing, but I think, and I'm only being transparent about that, because if it's helpful for anyone else to hear, that it's just always such an available thing and a gift to say, wait a minute, let me say it just like I want to dress authentically into what feels like me and brings me joy. Like, I also want to answer that in a way that feels like Rachel language. And I think what I'm noticing from my heart and place in the world is something going on in the world is the first thing I'm thinking of is pronouns, that people are, there's this emergence, especially with youth, but of people saying, I can wear clothes that are gender neutral, you know, it doesn't have to be male or female, or I want to be referred to as them or as he or she, or, you know, a whole variety. I think there is this piece here of renewed questions being asked of who am I and who are we together, and working really hard to embrace people just where they're at. It's sort of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood coming more alive, you know, of I love you just the way you are. That's Mr. Rogers. And so I think there is this sort of yin yang of resistance to that, and you know, there's a tug pull about it in the world. Yeah. And voices, there's something getting born. It's sort of like labor pains, right? Of contract, you know.
Like it goes and then it comes back and then it...
Yeah. And I think that there's some of that happening in humanity of stay the same. No.
Yep.
I need, you know, let's be honest about what's going on with us, and let's accept, you know, and then there's like, nope, let's go back into a box. Yep. And I don't mean to say it's all about gender identity. That's just one example. Sure. But it's more about who am I, who are we? Mm-hmm. And I think there's something trying to break free.
Like it's growth. There's like growth wanting to happen, but it's uncomfortable sometimes to grow. And so we're like, no, let's just go back to the same thing. But hey, let's try something new, but that's weird. But I don't know, you know, yeah, it's totally
right.
Yeah. I actually, interesting example that you use that, because like you said, I think it's, well, I'm throwing my perspective in with your example, but I think it's in a many different facets: currency, homeschooling versus public education, you know, the pronoun thing, farming, personal farming versus corporation, you know, there's food shortage, like there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Political stuff, whatever, medical freedom. It could go in any facet really, but I had a really cool gal on. It's called the Water Matrix episode, if anyone wants to go. A really good episode. And she was talking about that. And she said, take the feeling out of it. Take the political stuff out of it, this gender neutral stuff, or non-binary, or he, she, her, them. Take your opinion out of it. Really what is happening is we're questioning something. We've always just said he or she.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you believe that it should stay that way or it shouldn't. Like literally remove that. Remove the feeling.
Right.
We're questioning, or people are questioning. Maybe you aren't, somebody else is.
Yes.
Questioning the norm. That in itself is really cool. Because maybe it's time to kind of, I don't know. It's interesting to think about it from that perspective. Because I'm kind of neutral on that particular subject, for instance. Not that we're getting into it, but like I could care less. Like if someone wants to call themselves, I think it's awesome. You, be your authentic self. I personally like know what I am, and I don't really feel like I need to change or call myself anything different than her, because I just have always seen myself as a girl. That's fine. It doesn't matter. But the fact that it's being questioned is just interesting. We can question things, just like we don't have to get into this, but like COVID and science and all that, just questioning things shouldn't be shamed for that. Just we're questioning things. There's a lot of information, a lot of change happening. So I think if we can focus on that as a society, that would really be helpful for our growth. It's just questioning and honoring that question, not getting so we get so like this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And to not get divided.
Right. But it's hard to not do that, right?
It is. It's so hard.
Personal things vested or whatever. So sorry to go into, I asked you the question, but I was really resonating with that and that example of just like, things are just being questioned right now. That's a good, that is an interpretation for sure. I feel that too.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. But in this chaos or beauty, however you see it, to kind of go back to who you are, what I'm noticing just with like your color, your joy, growth, and being your inner child, like what are some tips that you've found? Like how can we find our inner child? How can we be our authentic selves and feel comfortable and confident being ourselves? Because some people, maybe they don't feel like they know how to be comfortable in their own skin. Like what are some things you've been able to find in your life so far?
Yeah, I think that, because we all grow up with different things about how supported we've been or not, or in between, to be ourselves and to express ourselves. And, if we can really say our true words, and or if we need to sort of hide, whether it's with clothing, whether it's with our words, etc. And so I think that there's a piece about just meet yourself where you are, and do things maybe gently, like little if someone's wanting to grow and expressing and being in touch with who they really are. I think that having gentle practices, I think that I'll say a few things off the top, having a gratitude practice, at the end of each day, just having 3 to 5 bullet points you write down of just brief things. What are things where I just feel grateful for in the day, and how do those inform me about who I am? Or maybe it's you write down each day in your notebook 3 to 5 times in the day you felt more alive, or you felt some joy. And those would be clues to who you are. I think that what brings us joy is always a clue about who we are. And it doesn't have to be off the wall joy. It could even be contentment. What made me feel settled down or content? And just taking the time to listen to that and listen to it somewhat regularly, so you start to see patterns emerge. And also there's a piece about taking the time to listen where you're giving yourself implicitly the message that you matter. I matter enough to listen to. I matter enough to take the time to jot things down, to start to notice patterns, to want to be in communication with myself. And I think that other things to notice is when do I notice I say my true yeses and nos to people and to things? When I said yes or no, did I feel a peace about that? Or was there something off? Like, I said yes, but I didn't really want to say yes. Or I said no, but I should have said, you know what I'm saying? So I think that even having a practice of noticing, what am I saying yes to in my everyday, and what am I saying no to? And what are of those things am I at peace with? I think you can even do this practice with what you wear, because I think our clothing is also a portal into seeing who we are. Like, what would bring me joy or feel like home or good on me today? And I could even just begin with socks. It doesn't even have to be the whole outfit, right?
I have some crazy socks on, actually.
Do you? What do they look like?
Mine, that only fits with my theme. We're spreading joy. So let's
do it.
I have the craziest outfit on right now. You guys, I have pajama pants on, let's be honest. But
okay.
Look at my eye socks.
Oh, they're like your background.
I love the eye. I have eye on everything. That's like my symbol.
Oh, love it.
There you go. See, if we weren't talking about socks, I wouldn't have showed those, and maybe that brought somebody joy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, yeah. We're doing the spontaneity.
Okay,
here's my socks.
Okay.
Can you even see them?
Yeah.
Are they showing up? It's just a regular sock, but it has little bits of color. They're very soft. And I'm in Minnesota, so they're also a little thick, so they're keeping my feet warm.
I love it.
So it's like function and fashion, right?
This was the first time we ever had myself and my guests show our socks. I love it. The best.
It is. It's my favorite moment of our conversation.
Fun. That's awesome.
But isn't that great? It kind of emerged organically when it was like in the brainstorm of like, what are some different ways to, it's almost like coming in sideways to thinking about and getting in touch with you and who you are. And suddenly we're showing our feet.
Yeah. But you know what? We need more playful, childlike moments in this world.
Yes.
So
yes. And of course we could just do a whole sleepover about this very question. I mean, these are things I've thought a great deal about over the years.
I know that's what's so hard in a podcast, right? To cram it in a couple minutes. I mean, it's just, you can't do it justice, but we're touching on topics. And the point is hopefully it helps someone think about something maybe they hadn't thought about, or maybe they'll dive deeper into a certain, area. And I know that you have to get going soon, but as we close, I really liked what you said. I'm huge on gratitude practice. I think it's life-changing. Once you do it more often, I think you always can find something, even if you're having a hard day, to be grateful for.
So true.
But would you mind sharing a couple of things today that you're grateful for?
Oh, definitely. Oh my gosh. Okay. I would say this morning, I'm going to be giving a big talk late in February, and I haven't done a talk to lots and lots. I mean, it's going to be to a large number of women, and it's been a couple of years since I've done it. So I just was like, just sort of the blank page, just the beginning. And I tagged this morning as my time to just start to conceptualize what I'll be talking about. And I got a long voicemail from a girlfriend, and it was just 6 or 7 minutes of her giving me incredible encouragement, and of her seeing me and how I've got it in me to do this again. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, that was a gigantic gift. And then I would say, sweetly, our feet, yours and my feet.
Yeah. That's very sweet.
Yeah. How about you? Do you want to as well?
Sure,
2 things?
I'd love to. Maybe I'll start asking my guests this. This is cool. I noticed some podcasts, like my one question I've noticed just organically it comes up is just, what is your perspective of what's going on in the world? Because everyone has a different, that's been my one question. Because I always listen to a lot of podcasts, and usually there's always like the same question they ask. And I've been kind of trying to figure out like, what do I want to ask? And that's been it so far. But maybe I'll also throw in like gratitude, because I just think it's amazing. And it could be so small or it could be something big.
Yes.
Gosh. Well, I mean, I'm thankful for our connection. The feet was fun. Why not? It could be something just as small and fun as that.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm tired. I have a 2.5. I'm waking up in the night. I'm exhausted. And
Hello.
The energy to get ready for this podcast, even. I'm like, am I ready to do this? I'm tired. I have to get my makeup. I don't have to. I wanted to get makeup on and get dressed and do all these things. But whenever I come in here and meet the person, I'm so glad I did it, because I always connect with the coolest people like you. I'm learning. I hope that other people are learning. I'm sharing joy into the world. Like, I really feel like this is my purpose. I'm just so grateful for people like you. You know what I mean? So thank you for allowing me to do something that truly feels like my calling. And so I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for my guests. I'm grateful that I am doing this podcast. And it's not about me. It's like, I literally feel like I've been given the opportunity. I'm just so happy to be here. I'm happy for anyone that's listening. Like, if anyone wants to share these podcasts, like, I'd be so humbled and honored, because my goal is to just raise vibration, be positive. And I'm just trying to help relay the messages of really cool people like you. So I'm just super grateful for you and for my guests. And the space that I'm in, this is a newer studio that we built. It's like a little shed. So I feel like I finally got my wallpaper finished, and I don't know, I just feel very grateful for a lot of things, but I'll just say those for now. So
okay. Yeah, love. Thank you.
Well, I really hope that your talk goes well with the.
Thank you.
It will go well.
Yes.
And I'm just grateful to meet you. And again, we'll put all your information. Do you have a website?
I do. So I will just say verbally.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants, I have like a bunch of affirming art and colorful and in my 4 books, and they are on my online Etsy store, ETSY, which you can get through my website, which is rachelaws.com, RACHELAWES, like the beginning of awesome. Yeah. So if you just go to rachelaws.com, you can click on shop, or you can click on blog or whatever, you know,
get everything.
Or my counseling, books. You know, it's all there.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll put it in the notes just in case people can't remember but
thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all the beautiful work that you're doing in the world. And it was really nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Take care.